Are you looking for how to make a mock draft on Sleeper? And what about if you want to add keepers in? That seems super complicated. Well, let's break it down in today's videos on the Coach and the Commish channel. Alright, so you've been looking for how to do a mock draft in Sleeper. Sleeper is one of the best platforms to use for your league. Personally, I commission a league and have commissioned a league for about 10 years. We went through ESPN, NFL.com, Yahoo way back in the day, and really we found Sleeper is the way to go. They listen to people on what changes they would like made, and overall it's just a great customizable platform, and I can fully endorse Sleeper for you. So enough talk about that. Let's just get right into how to do a mock draft. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can see here on my screen, this is the Sleeper website. This will obviously be different if you're on a phone. I do have my phone here that kind of shows their platform, but I'm going to show you how it's done on a desktop. They're very similar. Sleeper sets up their website so that it kind of almost functions like a phone app. So you'll see over here on the left side, we have a mock draft tab. If you click that, you can go in and you'll see these are mock drafts that I have in progress, and then there's a plus button up here. Similarly, if you're inside of a league and you want to mock draft for that specific league, you can click on this button right here, and again, you'll get this same thing. So let's just hit this plus button here. That's step one, and that will get us into a mock draft. There are several options up here at the top. I'm not going to explain every single one of these, but I did want to just go over a quick overview. Starting at the top here, you have when you start the draft. Obviously, I'm not going to do that yet because there are some settings that we have to put into place. Second, you have a bell notification here. This will let you know, it'll notify you when you're on the clock. It'll give you notifications about the draft. You can turn that on or off in that section. This is a mute button if you don't want to hear the sound effects. Not gonna lie, some of them are pretty annoying. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear them as I explain this, but there's some kind of annoying ones in there, so I often will turn that off. And then you have a light and dark mode, just like a lot of websites and apps have these days. So that's kind of an overview of the top. You can also hide this bottom screen here, which has your queue and everything. Before I get into that though, let me explain the different tabs here. So at the top, you will have all players, which will show every single player that is available in the draft. It will not show players that have been drafted. If you want to see only the quarterbacks, you can click this tab, and then so on and so forth, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, flex position, and then in our league, we specifically have a second flex. But I did want to mention what's really cool about this. As you're drafting, it can be hard to tell how many spots you need to fill. So if you look here, you'll see I need 14 roster spots for this draft that I currently have set up. I need one quarterback, I need two running backs, two wide receivers. So this is a really quick way to, in case this is a league that you're not in very often, you can quickly see what you need to do to fill that. And then it will populate this other number as you draft, so you can see, okay, I have 6 running backs, 4 wide receivers, maybe I need to take another wide receiver in this round, and so on and so forth. If you guys want to know more about draft strategy and how this process works when you're actually drafting, we'll make other videos to do with that. For this is strictly just going to be the nuts and bolts of how to use Sleeper and set it up for your draft. Mock drafting, specifically in this video, I will focus on for keeper leagues. So I'm assuming you have a little bit of knowledge of using a mock draft. Let me know down in the comments, though, if you want to know a more basic version of how to do a mock draft, and maybe we'll make a video on that. But for now, this will be strictly for people looking on how to do a keeper and how to kind of input the keeper so that you can do those specific mock drafts for your keeper leagues, because keeper leagues are the best. Come on, everyone knows this. Yeah, so that's kind of this top panel. It helps you kind of narrow down. I'm just going to look at the tight end section, and yeah, I think that's enough said on that. Here you'll have a watch list. This will tell you players that you've clicked on a watch list. I think that's this little button right here next to the player. You can put them on it. If you click that, then you go to your watch list. Maybe it's the star button. Yeah, so the star button, you'll see a watch list here, and now you'll see that player in there. I don't really use any of those features. You also can show the drafted players. That's not really too helpful to me because you have this nice board here that shows you who was drafted when, and then you can only show rookies. These are a section that I will not use when I'm drafting. What I do very much use, though, is this little button here is a plus button. And so this is where you will actually draft the players. There'll be a section here where you can draft. But this purple one that I clicked on earlier accidentally, but if you click on this little tab, this is the key to helping you stay on top of your draft and not tilting when it makes it to your pick. You know what you're doing. If you click this button right here, it will add them to a queue over on this right side, which brings us now to our right panel. And if you have the queue tab listed, then you can go down and say, okay, I'm looking at Austin Eckler and wondering if he'll make it back to me. If not, Dalvin Cook, and then Najee Harris is kind of my last resort. And then you can reorder these. It's just a nice way to keep track of who's still available. I'll often do this, say I'm waiting. I'm in 10 minutes before the draft will start. Obviously in a mock, you're in control. On Sleeper, you can start it whenever. But if you have some time before the draft and you wanted to come in, I would come down here and I'd say, Mike Evans is somebody I'm targeting. Ezekiel Elliott, I feel like he's a value, and I want to know if he's still on the clock on one of my picks. James Conner, same thing. So then what you can do is it's very nice to be able to see those players on the left or on the right side here, so that throughout the draft you're keeping an eye. Also, we'll put a couple of players in the same tier in there so that I can say, okay, he's the last guy in that tier. Multiple ways you can use this queue. I absolutely love it. Most websites will have this. But it's just another section that I think Sleeper did a good job of adding those in. So, again, mentioning this right side, the queue is mostly what I use it for. You can click on your roster. It'll show you your full roster construction, who you've drafted, what slots you need to fill. But I honestly don't use that very much because I have the full draft board and I can kind of quickly see what I've already drafted. And then, of course, the chat section, which in a mock draft is not as useful because you're not going to be drafting with a lot of people normally. I highly encourage it. I'll show you later how you can send a link to your friends and you can mock draft with them. It's a good way to kind of see their strategy. Often, in our league, we'll send it. It's hard to know if they're actually going to draft the way that they will in your real draft, but it's worth sending it to your league mates and see if you can have a fun chat with them while you guys go through a draft together. So yeah, that's the chat section. Again, I would leave it on the queue most often when I'm drafting. All right, so then let's move back up to the top here, and let's look at some settings. So this little tab right here is your settings tab. Here is that copy invite that I had mentioned. If you click that, it will literally copy like a Command-C and copy a URL address, which then you can go over and go to your messages, and I can click on my friend Chris, and I can say, hey, come join me in this draft, and it will send him a little link right there. So we'll see if he ends up joining. He's my co-host. Shout out to the coach, Chris. You'll see him all over this channel, just not in this one as I do a tutorial. But then you can create a copy of this draft. This is a fantastic way to do this. I will often create this template that we're going to do today and then create a copy of it so that from then on I can then use that same original thing to keep copying and doing mock drafts over and over. Because, come on, let's admit it. If you're watching this video, you're obsessed with fantasy football and you're going to do a couple of these mock drafts, and you need to know where your keepers are at and how to do these over and over so you can kind of see what happens if I pick, my tight end in the second and those types of things. So great option there to create a copy. This here is the huge section that you're going to use, which is the settings tab. So you'll have a general settings. You can name it. So I will often come in here and you can see I have one set as keepers as of 7/30. So when I had originally made this, I had, that was the date, and these were the keepers that I thought people were keeping and the rounds that I thought they would be kept, and so that's where I had it. You can choose the type of draft, which is a snake. A lot of these will be automatically put in here if you do it in your league, because it will use your league settings, so a lot of this you won't have to mess with, but there's a snake, linear. Again, I won't go into much of the details of these because that's kind of a more base level thing. If you want to know more about what these different types of drafts are and what these PPR, what all that stuff means, maybe we can have a different video where we talk about that. So let us know down in the comments if that's something that you would like to hear. So for now, I'm going to kind of leave these the same. I want a snake draft. I want half PPR. I want 12 teams. That's what's in my league. This here is where I will often change. If I'm drafting with other people, I will keep it around the 2 minutes because that's probably what your league will end up drafting at. Minute and a half or 2 minutes is usually what most leagues do. But if not, then I will actually come over here and I'll put in like an hour timer if I'm just doing it myself, because I want to think about the picks. I want to look at some rankings. I want to, take my time, because that's what mocks are for, to really think through how you're going to do it on the actual draft day. So just a kind of pro tip there to when you're doing it by yourself, come over, click that thing into an hour. You can go all the way to 24 hour. I don't know how long you need, but you can do that. You need to make sure that this is clicked on. It should automatically be on. You want the CPU to be auto pick so that when you're not picking, it quickly goes through all the other picks and comes right back to you. Again, all these settings, not something I'm going to mess with. Roster settings should be set up to your league. If they're not, make sure you come in here and check these. You'll see that they have a 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex. So in my league here, I noticed that something is messed up. I don't have 2 flexes like this. I have a flex with a wide receiver or a tight end instead of because we just added a second or a third wide receiver spot. People wanted the option of putting a tight end in there, so we have that. We have 5 bench spots, so that's correct. But last thing, I do want to add that position that is not in here. You can hit this little button, and it will let you choose what you would like to add. And I want a wide receiver / tight end, and now it's up in there and it's set. Then I hit update, and that's all set to go. Draft order. You can kind of move this around if you want, but traditionally you won't have to worry about this, because up here at the top, this is the draft order of what is claimed. So let's go ahead and now talk about the keeper section. So that was kind of a quick overview of how you would set up the draft if you were just wanting to do it without any players set in there. But you probably clicked on this video because you want to know how to do it when you have keepers. So real quick definition of what a keeper league is. You will keep a certain amount of players, traditionally 2 to 3 players that you will keep. My league is 2, so I'm going to say that that's how we're going to set this draft up. But I'm going to say that 2 people are kept on each team, and then I will go in and manually input these based on what I think my league mates are going to keep, or in a lot of situations, those have already been locked in and you know what they are. So with that being said, let's jump right into how to manually put those in. So I have the guy in my league who has the first pick. He's decided to forfeit his first round keeper. And then the way in our league it works is we get to keep them based on their ADP. There's a lot of different ways keepers are kept, but really the main focus of this is that you need to know that you can input them in any round that you want to. So for instance, this guy wants to keep Josh Allen. The value that he is allowed to keep him at is at the 2nd round. So I will click on this set player, and I'm sorry if my little button here is messing up that so you can't see it, but if you click over here, you'll see it says set player. And I click set player, and I scroll down, and I can either look through this list, so I could go to quarterback and see that Josh Allen is right there, or a really easy way to do it is I will come up here and type in Josh Allen, and there he is. That simple. I hit the add button, and boom, there he is set up. The other keeper that I see that he's going to be keeping is Antonio Gibson. So I will come in here, repeat the process, start putting in Antonio Gibson, and I see him right here. I'll click the plus button, and now he's been drafted in the 4th round. I will continue this process for every team. I'm not going to bore you guys with this, so I will speed this process up through the magic of video editing, and we'll be right back. And there you go. Magically, everyone is inputted, and we have now selected all these. I just went in and manually put these in. You'll see next to some of these, there are little locks. This would be if you're in a keeper league and someone has already made their keeper selection, then it may automatically put that player in that round, which is a great way to go. But that's not always the case, and why I'm making this video so that you can input it manually. So you'll see here I've got 2 players per team that have been selected. Now let's say you change your mind. And for instance, with my team, I am Team 10. Backing it up a little bit, let's say you are Team 10. You would hit the claim button there, and now you can see the commish. Here I am. I have been claimed for this spot. This is my team, and these are my keepers. But let's say I have made a decision that I don't want to keep this guy, and I would come down to remove the player, and then just like I did before, I would set up a different player. And the other player that I have is Javonte Williams, and I will put him in that section. So you hear this countdown is going off. That's kind of that weird noises that I've had.
Come on.
It's telling you to hurry up. Again, weird noises. I don't like it. We're at the point now where we can, we've put in our keepers. We have everything set up. Let's start this draft. Again, this is more the setup that I wanted to show in this video. if you check our channel, we should already have up a mock draft that we did with our league based on a very similar draft to this one, so you can watch us actually go through the process of drafting. But you go ahead and start this and at least let you see how this all plays out at the end of this video. So if I click the start draft button, simple enough, I hit start draft. It will ask me, am I sure I want to start this draft? And the answer is yes. I hit OK. There's those annoying sounds. I will go ahead and mute those, and I will pause the notifications. And you see it's automatically going through and auto-picking these. And it's going to pick these based on an ADP, meaning the average of what people have been drafting on this site. And that's it, guys. That's how you set up a mock draft in Sleeper, specifically using your keepers. I hadn't seen many tutorials that showed you how to do this, so I thought I'd make this quick video. Let me know down in the comments if this was helpful. Hit the like button if you liked it, enjoyed it, it helped you out. And hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content. We're traditionally a podcast channel, but we are shifting a little bit to do some tutorials. So if you would let us know that you want to see more tutorials like this, what type of tutorials you would see, you can let us know in the comments. But otherwise, subscribe. During this season, we have a really fun time with our league. We have fun. We talk not just about a specific league, but also the news that happens in fantasy football, give you guys tips, and I really hope that this was helpful. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Deuces!